Welcome to Wrestling at the Chase, the opening bout, a one fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Green Bay, Wisconsin, weighing 239 pounds, Chris Curtis. And from Winnipeg, Canada, weighing 242 pounds, Bulldog Bob Brown. Referee Charles Veneta.
The crowd is noisy, and that's normal when Bulldog Bob Brown gets into a ring. A lot of barking, a lot of booing as Brown squares off with Chris Curtis, and Curtis quickly scores with an arm drag. Brown not too happy about being tossed in his first offensive thrust. He's caught again with the arm drag by Chris Curtis. Brown squirms across the mat, but could not get to the ropes, and Curtis pours on the pressure with the arm bar. Body drop, or rather an elbow drop really into the shoulder. Really the body and the elbow both scoring into the bicep and the shoulder of Bulldog Bob Brown. Chris Curtis in command. Brown applies pressure underneath the chin of Curtis. A chop to the chest. Curtis still hangs on with the arm bar. Curtis stretching out that arm. The more he can extend it and twist it, the more pain Brown will be feeling, and that knee drop doesn't help matters any for Bulldog Brown. Once more an arm drag by Curtis, and Brown is back on the canvas. Chris Curtis twisting the arm of Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown reaches up for the hair of Curtis, and referee Charles Venator slaps the hand of Brown away. Brown with a slash to the throat, but Curtis stays in command. Brown struggles to his knees, trying to get to his feet. It'll be much easier to counter from that position if he can get standing. Curtis, though, concentrating with the arm bar. Rather melancholy milestone coming up this Tuesday. You know, the 30th anniversary of Ray Steele's death is this Tuesday. Of course, the all-time great held the World Heavyweight Championship in 1940 and 1941. Passed away on September 11th, 1949. He was one of the greats, and he was one of the reasons that Sam Muchnick went into wrestling, working for Tom Pax back in 1932. After the St. Louis Times was sold and Sam Muchnick lost his job as a sports writer for the Times, Sam had several offers in the newspaper business, both in St. Louis and in New York. But Ray Steele, who was a very close friend of Sam's, convinced Sam that his future might very well lie in wrestling, working for Tom Pax, and of course the rest is history. Sam Muchnick's success here in St. Louis, his success in founding the National Wrestling Alliance. So Ray Steele really deserves a vote of thanks, not only for the tremendous wrestling he provided in the 20s, 30s, and early 40s, but also for convincing Sam Muchnick to go into wrestling. Steele passed away 30 years ago this Tuesday. Brown with a slash to Curtis's throat. Flying mare with the help of some hair pulling by Brown, and then Brown works with the boot across the face of Chris Curtis. Front face lock by Bulldog Bob Brown, who's been doing quite a bit of sniping at the Von Erich brothers, Kevin and David, saying that it's really due to their father's influence that they've been getting so many main events. Brown has infuriated the entire Von Erich clan. Curtis reaching inside that front face lock, breaking the grip of Brown. Curtis can come out if he can get his head loose from underneath the body of Brown. Headbutt to the stomach. Arm drag by Chris Curtis, and Curtis once more is back in charge. Referee Charles Venator asked Bulldog Brown if he wants to give up, and Brown told Venator, "Don't bother me." Takes a lot to ring a concession from Bulldog Bob Brown. He's a tough, scrappy worker. Hard to beat, hard to get a concession from. Curtis stretching out that arm. Now Brown, even though caught in the hole, yells out at some of the fans who are riding him. Chris Curtis with an arm bar. Curtis, a native of Wisconsin, been doing most of his wrestling throughout the Midwest since he turned professional about a year and a half ago. Doing pretty well. Has a good fundamental grip on wrestling. Very good on the basics. Brown had a fist clenched, but Charles Venator spotted it and told Brown to keep that hand open. Brown Brown's hand finds its way to the windpipe of Curtis. Brown strangling Curtis, but at the same time, he's pulling the tights, and that's what Venator spotted. Now, Charlie Venator trying to catch up with Brown, who's breaking rules right and left. Venator warns Brown. Was that a punch? Or was it the stiffened fingers to the windpipe? We couldn't tell from our vantage point.
5 minutes have elapsed, 5 minutes left.
Whether it was a punch or an open hand, it certainly had a lot of pop to it. You could hear it crack as it landed in the face or the jaw of Chris Curtis, and now Curtis's head is driven into the turnbuckle. Once more, Curtis banged into that turnbuckle by Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown with a kick to the stomach. Another chop to the throat by the Bulldog. The crowd hoots and hollers at Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown stands on the throat of Curtis. Brown still on the throat of Curtis. Curtis slow coming to his feet, gasping for wind. A double chop to either side of the neck by Bulldog Brown. Kick to the back by Brown. Brown roughing up Curtis. A stomp to the face by Bulldog Bob Brown. Curtis taking some lumps right now. Curtis was in command for the first 4 or 5 minutes, but now Brown, opening up with the rough tactic, seems to have taken charge himself. Brown whips Curtis across the ring and into the buckles. Brown charges in and misses with an attempt at the flying tackle. Curtis goes to town on Bulldog Brown. Flying heel by Curtis. Oh, that drop kick missed. Brown saw it coming, simply stepped back, and Curtis fell heavily on his back. Brown stomps on Chris Curtis just when it seemed as though Curtis had something going. Brown called on his experience and eluded a drop kick.
3 minutes left, 3 minutes.
3 minutes remain in the curtain raiser between Bulldog Bob Brown and Chris Curtis. Brown hoists Curtis, backbreaker. The backbreaker by the Bulldog. Brown smiling now after Curtis missed that drop kick. He was hurting, and Brown's not helping the situation any for Curtis. A second backbreaker by Bulldog Bob Brown. Brown takes to the air, leg drop, catching him across the jaw. The leg drop across the jaw of Chris Curtis. And there is the count of 3. Bulldog Bob Brown, the winner. After a pair of backbreakers followed by the leg drop, that landed across the jaw of Chris Curtis, and that really provided the finishing touches. Here's ring announcer Mickey Garagiola.
In 7 minutes and 29 seconds with the leg drop, the winner, Bulldog Bob Brown.
It's almost here. Next Friday, September 14th, air-conditioned Kiel Auditorium is the place to be for a thrilling wrestling program. Colossal Andre the Giant squares off with awesome King Kong Brody. 16 stars collide in a Wrestle Royal. Dick Murdoch risks the Missouri title against Dory Funk Jr. Kevin Von Erich, Pat O'Connor, and Dick the Bruiser battle Bob Sweetan, Lord Alfred Hayes, and Bobby Duncombe. Bulldog Bob Brown meets David Von Erich. Ron Starr opposes the Turk. Roger Kirby and Steve Hall duel George Wells and Frank Hill. Tickets are on sale daily except Sunday at the Arcade Building and Kiel. The prices are $2, $3, $4, and $5. Send mail orders to the St. Louis Wrestling Club, Mezzanine 10 Arcade Building, St. Louis 63101. Plenty of tickets will also be available at the door Friday evening. No true wrestling fan can afford to miss this next Friday at Cool Kiel Auditorium. Andre the Giant versus King Kong Brody.
Second main event, an Australian tag team match, 1 fall with a 10-minute time limit. Introducing from Indianapolis, Indiana, weighing 235 pounds, Mike Hubert. From Wellington, New Zealand, weighing 235 pounds, former world champion Pat O'Connor. From Baton Rouge, Louisiana, weighing 268 pounds, Bob Sweetan. From Dunkirk, Indiana, weighing 238 pounds, Roger Kirby.
Mike Huber and former world champion Pat O'Connor take on Bob Sweetan and Roger Kirby, the second main event today. Huber and Kirby circle. Huber ducks underneath the first grasp of Roger Kirby. Once more, Huber sidesteps Kirby. Cautious. They come to grips. Pulling on each other's neck. Huber was forced to one knee. Now Kirby was. Huber leans into Kirby. Finally an arm drag by Mike Huber. Tosses Kirby aside. You know, during that special tape, which was put together here by the fine crew at KPLR TV, comparing the strengths of Andre the Giant and King Kong Brody, when you think of all the moves those two men have that are reliant upon their power, their strength, and their agility, it'll be interesting to see how they match up against one another. Can Brody, for instance, lift Andre for a body slam? Can Andre lift Brody? Brody says nobody can body slam him. What will happen if Andre scores the giant splash on Brody? Can he keep Brody down? And what happens if Brody hits Andre with that flying knee drop? Will that be enough to stop Andre? The battle of the giants. Andre the Giant against King Kong Brody. That is a classic matchup, something the entire wrestling world is talking about, just as they're talking about the big 16-man Wrestle Royal. Andre has captured the last two Royals in St. Louis. He will really be a target in this Royal. And, of course, Brody has a golden opportunity maybe to injure Andre, to keep Andre from being effective or even getting to that Royal. You can bet Brody will stop at nothing, as he said he would. He would stop at nothing a couple of weeks ago here on Wrestling at the Chase when we interviewed him. He was wild that day talking about the match with Andre. Think how wild he'll be when the bell rings and it's Andre the Giant versus King Kong Brody. Good fireman's carry by Roger Kirby. Huber muscles his way out. Tag made to Bob Sweetan. Kirby hangs on to Huber for Sweetan, and Sweetan bangs a fist off the side of Mike Huber. Sweetan pounding on Huber. Sweetan tossed to the ropes by Huber. Flying tackle. Huber's waiting with a hip toss. Arm drag. Mike Huber pulled back by Sweetan, who grabbed the hair. I don't think the referee saw it. He was trying to get in position to count the shoulders of Sweetan when Sweetan reached up. Love that slow motion insert too of that side suplex from Starr. Starr probably has the best side suplex I think I've ever seen. I can remember Danny Hodge using it. Bobo Brazil uses it. But Starr really seems to have mastered the balance necessary to yank that man back. And remember, Starr won that big Wrestle Royal in San Francisco, so he's experienced in Wrestle Royals. And Starr is one of just many to watch in that 16-man Royal coming up here in St. Louis. Plus the Missouri title on the line. Dick Murdoch risking the state crown against Dory Funk Jr., who held the World Heavyweight Championship more than 4 years, who held the Missouri crown, and in fact who won the Missouri title from none other than Harley Race, the current world champion. Bear hug by Kirby, and Kirby drives Huber into Sweetan's knee. Knee drop to the back by Sweetan. Once more, the knee drop to Huber's back by Bob Sweetan. Sweetan and Kirby have made several tags, but Huber has been unable to tag O'Connor. There's the bear hug by Sweetan on Mike Huber. And it's worth mentioning on Pat O'Connor's behalf that he suffered a knee injury a few days ago, and he's working under rather difficult circumstances because that knee injury has been giving him trouble. Huber almost belted his way out of the bear hug. Sweetan grabs the tights and tries to maneuver Huber back to the corner where Sweetan can tag Kirby. Kirby comes up from behind Huber. The bear hug by Kirby, and Kirby, very powerful, lifts Huber off Huber's feet. Huber flails away with forearms. And now a fist. Bangs the ears, and finally Kirby has to drop Huber, but Huber's definitely in the wrong corner as far as he's concerned. Benader keeps Sweetan back, so does Lee Warren, but Huber couldn't get away.
5 minutes have elapsed, 5 minutes left.
5 minutes remain. Huber spun away from O'Connor. O'Connor reaching out, trying to make a tag. Huber, Kirby, trading blows. Tag is made to Pat O'Connor. Sweetan, though, was being chased to the corner, and I don't think the referee saw it. No! The referees were doing something the fans wanted them to do, chase Sweetan out of the corner, and because of that, neither referee saw the tag made from Huber to O'Connor. The crowd's in an uproar, but they'd have been just as much in an uproar if the referees had let Sweetan come to clear across the ring to help Kirby. It was a no-win situation for the officials. And it was a no-win situation for Mike Huber. He's tossed to the ropes by Sweetan. Oh, hard forearm smash to the solar plexus. Flying elbow drop by Sweetan, but Huber's leg is on the ropes. There will not be a pin here. Sweetan works with a boot across the forehead of Mike Huber. And then Sweetan lifts Huber. Kirby brings up a foot and drives that boot into the stomach of Huber. Huber trying to get to Pat O'Connor. Here comes Kirby. Kirby working on the stomach of Huber, but Huber refusing to quit. Huber and Kirby trade blows. At Huber, this won't quit, and O'Connor urges on his partner. Down goes Kirby. Huber dives to O'Connor, and here comes the Irishman. Kirby backs into the corner. O'Connor goes to work on the stomach, and then the hard right cross by O'Connor. O'Connor whips Kirby into the buckle, flips him up and over. Here comes Sweetan. O'Connor spots him. Sweetan driven head first into the buckle by O'Connor, who then pounds on Kirby's face.
3 minutes left, 3 minutes.
Huber gets in his licks from outside the ring. O'Connor blasts Kirby in the face again. The sleeper hold by O'Connor on Kirby. Here comes Sweetan, and Sweetan kicks O'Connor right in the rib cage. Kirby whipped to the rope. Nearly hits the referee, and Kirby flipped over the top by O'Connor. O'Connor goes for the pin, count of 1. And that, too, the very strong Kirby throws off O'Connor. O'Connor hurls Kirby to the ropes once more. The sleeper again as he tags Kirby coming off those ropes. Right in the middle of the ring, but there's Sweetan again. O'Connor released the sleeper before Sweetan could hit O'Connor, and O'Connor would like a piece of Sweetan. Kirby and Sweetan try to double team O'Connor, but it doesn't quite work. O'Connor butts the heads of Kirby and Sweetan together. It was almost 2 against 1. The sleeper again by O'Connor. O'Connor with the sleeper on Kirby. Sweetan sees what's happening. Warren manages to chase Sweetan out. They chase Huber out. Kirby trying to keep consciousness as O'Connor tries to cut off the blood supply to the brain. Kirby gets to his feet though, and O'Connor takes several hard smashes from Bob Sweetan outside the ring. Here comes Huber. We have 4 in one corner. Think what it'll be when there's 16 in one ring. Huber chased back by the referees. Kirby and Sweetan double teaming the former world champion.
1 minute left, 1 minute.
Just a minute remaining in the second main event. O'Connor trapped by Sweetan and Kirby. Side headlock. Off the ropes comes Sweetan with a flying tackle. O'Connor rolls, catches another flying tackle. O'Connor moves behind Sweetan. Reverse rolling cradle. This could be it, but Sweetan gets away. O'Connor behind Sweetan with the sleeper. O'Connor with the sleeper on Sweetan. Sweetan thrashing about, trying to get to his corner where he can tag Kirby. And does so. Kirby charges. O'Connor runs right into the sleeper again. O'Connor now with the sleeper on Kirby. Sweetan too groggy to do much good, helping Kirby. It's pretty much up to Kirby right now. Sweetan still in the corner trying to regain his bearing. Time running out. O'Connor trying to put Kirby away. Sweetan trying to get in there. Huber comes in to help. There's the bell. The time limit has expired. Kirby held on. Terrific display of courage and toughness by Roger Kirby, hanging on while trapped in the sleeper. This match is a draw. Here's Mick.
With time running out, referee declares the match a draw. An added attraction, most falls to curfew. Introducing from Charlotte, North Carolina, weighing 135 pounds, Kay Roberts. From Nashville, Tennessee, weighing 138 pounds, Debbie Combs.
Now, I'm sure you'll agree they're both a little bit better looking than Bulldog Bob Brown. Quite a bit better looking, in fact. The lady wrestlers, Debbie Combs against Kay Roberts. Debbie, the blonde, Combs was caught in a wrist lock, countered with a hammerlock on Kay Roberts. Roberts counters with a hammerlock of her own on Debbie. Debbie spins behind Kay Roberts. Flying mare by Kay Roberts. Debbie complains that Kay was pulling hair. Debbie Combs works on the left arm of Kay Roberts, puts it into a wrist lock. Most falls to curfew. Debbie Combs and Kay Roberts. No question that time that Kay Roberts pulled hair. No question for you, because you were at a different angle watching on the low camera from home. You could see her pull the hair. But the referee, Lee Warren, was circling, and Kay Roberts waited until the referee was out of view. And of course, a good referee does keep moving, keep circling.
5 minutes left, 5 minutes.
5 minutes remain in the curfew. Good counter by Debbie Combs. And Debbie, of course, has wrestling in her blood. Her mother was also a real fine lady wrestler, Cora Combs. Was in St. Louis many times. Fiery redhead was Cora Combs. Count of 2 on Debbie Combs, who then comes up with a head scissors on Kay Roberts. Debbie balancing up to get extra pressure on that head scissors. Debbie Combs, a little bit the taller and a little bit the heavier of the two girls. Strong legs, that head scissors particularly effective as she bounces the head. I believe Kay Roberts just took a hunk out of Debbie Combs' leg. Kay Roberts bit Debbie Combs to break the head scissors. Nasty young lady. Doggone Mickey, I was even going to arrange a date for you with Kay Roberts. I don't think I will now. She might be a little too tough for either one of us. Debbie Combs knocks down Roberts. Roberts dumps Combs going for the leg, and then Roberts comes up with a double toe hold. Fast and furious action from the ladies. And it'll be fast and furious in that 16-man Wrestle Royal. It'll be fast and furious when Andre the Giant and King Kong Brody square off. It'll be equally fast and furious when Dory Funk Jr. tries to take the Missouri title from Dick Murdoch. Debbie's shoulders are down, but not for long. Debbie, really aggressor there. She charges Roberts to the ropes, and Monkey flips her off. Again, using the foot to toss Roberts over, and Roberts slides right out of the ring. Kay Roberts taking a stroll outside the ring, letting Debbie Combs cool down, lose some momentum. There's your chance, Mick. You should have asked her for her phone number or something.
No way, I felt it right in the chops.
She just dumped Debbie Combs heavily. Combs at the back of her head when she fell. Side headlock by Kay Roberts.
I tell you, these two girls are tough, man.
They play it rough in there, just as rough as the men. Roberts jerks the top cable into the throat of Debbie Combs. Roberts again strangling Debbie Combs over that top rope. Side headlock again by Kay Roberts on Debbie Combs. No falls yet. Lee Warren checking to make sure that Roberts wasn't strangling. Then Debbie Combs yanks Roberts' hair and throws her down.
2 minutes left, 2 minutes.
2 minutes remain. Step over toe hold by Kay Roberts. She tried to get a little extra leverage by pulling tights, but Combs counters and comes up with a double toe hold on Roberts. Under 2 minutes remaining. Under 2 minutes remaining in the curfew. Been pretty evenly matched, Combs and Roberts. Roberts quite a spitfire. She kicks Combs away.
She's a talkative little girl, too. She really chops him out.
Maybe she is related to Bulldog Brown. Combs tossed to the buckles by
man.
Kay Roberts. How do they take that punishment?
She's beautiful compared to Bulldog Brown.
Roberts reversed into the buckle. Debbie Combs mounting the ropes, crawling behind Kay Roberts, and she's riding Kay Roberts with a victory roll. That's what it's sometimes called, a rolling front head scissors. And there's the first fall. There's the first fall. And we'll check the clock, and it's the only fall. We have a winner, Debbie Combs with the victory roll. Debbie Combs mounting those ropes, coming up behind Kay Roberts. I really don't think Roberts exactly knew what was happening. She was maybe a bit befuddled, and that made it a little bit easier for Combs to ride Roberts over, catch her in that cradle that finished off the match. Here's Mickey.
With time running out, the winner of the only fall and the match with the victory roll, Debbie Combs.
So Debbie Combs is the winner of the ladies' match over Kay Roberts. They went at it hot and heavy, but Combs had the victory roll. She gets the only fall and the match. Also on today's program, a very exciting tag team match that ended in a stalemate as Pat O'Connor and Mike Huber went to draw with Bob Sweetan and Roger Kirby. Ron Starr looked very, very sharp. It's easy to see why he's getting a lot of headlines and a lot of main events. Starr took the measure of Steve Hall, and in the curtain raiser, Bulldog Bob Brown used a pair of backbreakers and a leg drop to finish off Chris Curtis. Plus, we had a special look at Andre the Giant and King Kong Brody, two true titans of wrestling. Brody, as big as he is, gives away size to Andre. That will be quite a Donnybrook. And be sure you're on hand again here next weekend for more Wrestling at the Chase.